Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in to today's edition of Anara Starcraft. I'm very excited to bring you this game series today. This is going to be a Showmatch series from an earlier patch, 1.1.1, featuring QXC versus the Little One. This is actually the last Showmatch of the Little One playing as Terran. Shortly after this, he switched over to Zerg, and we've seen him play and do his miraculous workings in the StarCraft universe with Zerg. But like I said, this is the last Showmatch he did as the Terrans rather. So very excited to see what he does here in his last hurrah, so to speak, versus QXC. Now QXC is a very, very strong player. He had some very strong appearances during the beta especially. He's currently ranked pretty high on the North American ladder. And the Little One, of course, we all know who the Little One is. Very imaginative player, very creative, very entertaining. Always has some of the most absolutely entertaining games that I have ever watched come from this guy right here. So very excited to see how both of these players play out these games. Like I said, this is a Showmatch series. I think there's 6 or 7 of them total. Games rather. So I'm going to try to bring you about 1 or 2 of them a day here, as fast as my computer will let me render them, so you guys can experience the awesomeness that is the Little One versus QXC. Of course, this first map is going to be Metawopolis, where already QXC has an SCV down here, scouting out Little One, whose barracks went down at around 12 supply, gas at around 13, and pretty much the exact same thing for QXC, gas at around 13, barracks at around 12. And looking over here, we can see that the SCV is continuing to do a little bit of harassment on the Little One. Not really effective though, because the Little One has his own SCV chasing QXC's around. QXC is not going to be able to harass this SCV, which is now completed the barracks. And of course, with the completion of the barracks, the Marine can spawn and drive away the scout for a good while. But QXC, having fooled the Little One, brought his SCV back up to the top of the ramp, and he's taking a wide spread around the base, just barely dodging the range of that Marine. And now it's heading down towards the bottom of the Little One's base, where it may decide to cause some trouble, may just decide to stay in and be a little scout. I don't know. We'll have to see. But meanwhile, up here, the Little One has dropped down his mule. We can see his orbital command is now complete, as he has a factory on the way. Now, do note that he is only working on 1 gas at this point in time. Now, looking up here at QXC's base, he is capturing his second geyser, and his own factory is going down. Doesn't have an add-on for either. I don't think either player has an add-on for their barracks. No, both players are just producing Marines off of 1 barracks with no add-ons. So right now, I'm thinking, at least for the Little One, we're going to see some sort of mid-tier play. Although likely not something very gas-intensive. Probably see something like Hellions. I don't know if we're going to see Reactor Hellions or just a little bit of Hellion harassment and then transitioning into something later on. But for now, we are seeing 1 Hellion take to the field for the Little One as he uses the gas he has saved up to throw down a starport immediately after the completion of the factory. Still not having an add-on for this barracks. Now looking up here at QXC space, you can see both of his geysers are now functional. He's throwing a reactor onto his barracks, and he's getting his own starport while producing his own Hellions. So good stuff there as this SCV continues to scout for QXC. Now note that the Little One doesn't really have that much scouting that he could do on QXC's base. That's the last information that he has, as he sends a Hellion up here, which contacts the Marines, getting some nice shots on there. Going to try to get into the mineral line and do some damage. I don't think it's going to do a whole lot though, as he only gets 1 flaming shot off before being chased around by this Hellion, which then takes it out. And heading to the top of the ramp here. So QXC was able to technically draw the first blood on this game. As the Little One continues to build Hellions, he's sitting on 1 right now. Of course, there are 2 Hellions heading down here for QXC. They're going to try to take a shot at the base. It looks like he's actually trying to bait out the Hellion and engage it. He doesn't know that the second one's parked a little bit farther behind, but since the full force of TLO's army has gone down the ramp, he is retreating now. Now looking over here, we can see an armory is on the way. So the second geyser has been claimed by the little one, so we can expect to see him transitioning fairly soon, possibly throwing down an add-on on one of these buildings as he continues to get his supply count up there with the supply drop. As the Hellions do head out, 3 of them are on the way, as well as the drop, so we're going to see a little bit of a flank attack here. One Hellion in position down here to maybe engage the Marines, but the Hellions up here are taking the Marines out of the base a little bit, trying to pull them away, allowing TLOs the Marines combined with the medevac to get some free kills off of these Marines. QXC is definitely not happy about that. He brings his Hellions over here to burn away some of the Marines. Fortunately, though, the little one had that dropship handy and was able to pick up the remainder of his forces. Now look over here, QXC did send a dropship down to TLO's base, but it was completely empty. Nothing was actually in there. It was just sent down there as a scout. So that attack has pretty much completed here. We are continuing to see both players build up. QXC opting to get some Vikings off of the starport, which currently has a tech lab, so we can expect to see something other than Vikings in the very near future. There's a second barracks going down, and a little bit of harassment from the little one with his own Viking. Just trying to get in here, do a little bit of scouting, see what all that QXC is adding to his army. As we have a Thor starting to take to the field now. Very excited to see what happens with this Thor, as we currently still have that one dropship hanging out, as well as a second Viking, so we might have a Thor ship with an escort, possibly some Marines. Whatever it is, though, the little one is going to be looking to expand here in the very near future, which is a pretty good idea. I'd say it should probably be done around the 9-10 mark or so. As QXC's Hellions come in here with the Pre-Infernal Igniter upgrade, they're doing some heavy damage to the light units, trying to knock off the SCV building, the command center. Saw him try to target that for a second, but was not able to. Instead, the little one actually responding very quickly by lifting off some of the units, the light units specifically, into the medevac, allowing them to stay safe against the Hellions, which now have retreated to back of the base. Now looking over here, we have a a Thor ship taken to the field with a good number of Marines, a couple Viking escorts, and one Hellion who has definitely taken it upon himself to head ahead of the bunch. Maybe try to pull out the other Hellions, I do not know, but for now the Viking is giving vision to the Thor, which is hanging out at the base of the ramp. There's one SCV back there, possibly trying to repair, but definitely not where he wants to be, as he ran up headfirst into the army, as this Thor is losing its support very quickly. Everything coming out of the army to try to kill this, even a couple of QXC's SCVs. So there goes the Thor there relatively quickly, as the little one tries to retreat with these Marines. Unfortunately, 2 Marines cannot match up against a couple siege tanks and several more Marines. Looking down here in TLO's base, you can see he does have another Thor, as well as a lot of SCVs transitioning down here to the natural to mine. Now this is actually a pretty good spot to counterattack, but you notice that the little one has so many SCVs here. He's brought over a good number, 11 of them to repair, and that would definitely be more than enough to handle the DPS that would be given by the siege tanks here, as there were only number in 2. Now looking up here, we do have QXC trying to expand. Looks like he's sending his command center out right now. Not quite an orbital command just yet, but we can probably expect to see that pretty soon, as he's actually doing a little bit of swapping, probably looking to get a little bit more in the way of Vikings to counteract the Thor ship that just came, and also the little one's own Vikings. And looking down here, not too much going on in the little one's base. We do have a second factory has now been completed, and he's continuing to build siege tanks now. Can probably expect to see siege tech in the near future, as it's already 60% complete. His mineral line's looking pretty good for both of the bases. Let's actually look at the income for a second here. Harvester count 38 to 39 in favor of QXC. But because of the expansion and the mules that were just dropped, look at that, 4 mules running on this expansion right now, sitting very high. When those mules return, it kicks him up to 1,700, and he's definitely sitting good on the gas, with pretty much double the gas income compared to his opponent. Looking at the units lost tab, we can see 22 to 19, but definitely lost a lot more in terms of resources for the little one, especially with that attack just a few minutes ago where the Thor was destroyed and everything else along with it. That definitely had to hurt for the little one. But for now, the army size is looking pretty good. You can see it's about even, 78 to 78. 94 cap is definitely looking pretty good for the little one, as currently QXC is supply blocked. Once again, going to the production tab, we can see stim packs are on the way for QXC, and weapons 1 is on the way for the siege tanks and the Thors. That'll definitely help the little one out, as every upgrade counts so much in Terran versus Terran. You want to make sure you can do anything possible, as it'll make all the difference in the world. For right now, though, he is continuing to macro up. Neither player is doing a ton of damage. There is a Hellion drop over here. QXC trying to do some damage on the mineral lines, taking out some of the SCVs and a couple Marines doing some damage as well. This is definitely going to hurt. Oh, this Hellion might get in here, get a ton of SCV damage right there. It got several hits, several solid hits, but was not able to take out a majority of the SCVs. Definitely got some good kills in there, as these couple Marines still live. However, I don't think they will be able to live through the damage of the siege tanks and the Vikings, combined with some very, very vengeful SCVs trying to take out the last of the Marines there. So that attack was indeed thwarted by the little one as he continues to build up his forces. Still looking pretty good in terms of economy. We can see how that affected him. 34 to 45 in the harvester count now, 46. So definitely a difference there, as both players are starting to have their mains mined out. We can see right now he's running off of about 6 patches right now in his main, as QXC about the same. His are still there, but looking pretty low, as we have a Hellion for QXC heading out probably to take the Xel'Naga Watchtower. Yep, looks like that's what he's doing right there, as that unit did not last very long. Now, notice the difference in the siege tanks formations. QXC has them a little staggered. He's got 2 here, some a little bit farther behind. And that's good because he only has a few of them. So he wants to make sure that they're spread out and that they all won't just die at once from a massive splash from the little one attacking. But the little one has a lot more in the way of siege tanks. So you see he's got them spread out here, so they'll be able to do a ton of damage up front, especially to this area right here. And there is also a Thor or 2 here, which will definitely help with support fire as well. And these Vikings are a pretty good number compared to QXC. Not quite up to what QXC has. He does have a couple extra, 2 I believe to be exact, but that's still good enough when you consider the fact that the little one has also invested into the Thors and still has a pretty decent economy. So right now I'd say both players are sitting up about even footing, as both players continue to get upgrades for their units. Right now we do have the little one getting the weapons level 2. This will help out even more with the siege tanks and the Thor damage, as both of his Thors are hanging out right here. Don't think he has any extras hanging out. No, that's pretty much it. Now, looking up here at QXC's base, we can see that he has invested a lot into Marauders, which are very good at absorbing some of the damage from the lighter units, and also getting in there and sniping off siege tanks and Thors as well. But you really got to watch out because of the the siege tanks do extra damage to armored units. You can see, I think it's 50. 35 normal, 50 against armored. So they'll definitely rip up the Marauders, but still, nonetheless, very powerful indeed. As QXC, it looks like he actually has a couple Marauders loaded up. May decide to do a drop in the mineral line again. I do not know. We'll have to see. For now, you saw in the minimap the little one's Marauder force running around the map, checking the expansions, and this expansion barely staying out of the vision of the Hellions that came up there just a second ago. We may see another point of convergence there for those 2 units. I don't know. For now, though, we have the dropship heading in. Now, notice the little one's Hellions managed to see that medevac just in time. Fantastic place, just right place, right time to see that. And he's using these Hellions to stem up and try to take out this reactor and deny the little one some of these Vikings that he's been trying to pump out really fast. Now, this medevac actually was able to get out fairly well. You see, it only lost 1 Marauder, so I would say that was probably worth it, considering how many Vikings he will deny in the near future. And looking over here at the little one's base, once again, his expansion really starting to get clumped up with a lot of tanks, a lot of Thors here is hanging out still, and we got some static defenses as well, so pretty good times, as we have a little party here for the Vikings, just going to hang out, listen to what this one has to say. Meanwhile, QXC still has control of both Xel'Naga Watchtowers. He's keeping a little parties of Marauders there, just to make sure nothing's going on, as he continues to build barracks. Look at that. He's even got them all nice and organized, like, very good stuff there. So you can expect to see even more Marauders. He's really going to try to push that to counter the Thors and the siege tanks that so far the little one has really made liberal use of. Now here comes some Vikings with some Hellions. May try to do another drop in the natural. I don't know how well this is going to work. Although, if he's able to catch his QXC off guard without the siege tanks when deployed, which I don't think is going to be the point or I don't think is going to be the case at this point, it would have been really effective. But because of the fact that QXC caught that, he's not really, or the little one's not really going to be able to do a whole lot with that. And he knows that at this point, so he's bringing the forces back, and he's actually choosing to move out with his with his ground forces and just keeping the Vikings for support. Moving out just a little bit, might decide to do a slow push up. I do not know at this point. But for now, we do notice that QXC has a planetary fortress at the high yield. He has claimed that. So if he is able to keep that, this will definitely be a lot of trouble for the little one. But he does bring his Hellions down here. Unfortunately, the planetary fortress is more than enough to deal with that. As we can see, the little one has brought in his own Marauders here to capture the Zelnaga Watchtower. Now looking down here, QXC's Vikings have landed and are going to be able to defend this expansion. But do note that the little one's own Vikings are going to come up here and try to catch these Vikings off guard. Managed to kill one of them right there. There goes the second. There goes the third. Look at that. Great engagement. Unfortunately, though, the little one is having to retreat, so QXC will be able to hold on to this expansion even longer. If he is able to hold on to this, the little one will be in a lot of trouble. So we'll have to see what happens as the little one, for now, continues to lose the Vikings as this assault continues on this high-yield expansion. I don't really know what's going to happen, because look at this right here. QXC is moving in with a ton of siege tanks and Marauders, catching these tanks on the side, pretty much the worst possible place, catching them all in a row. They're all sieging up now, so one of these things is going to explode really quick. There it goes, Thor, the second Thor, and all the rest of these siege tanks are going to be going away very soon. But look at this, the little one coming in from behind the flank attack, coming in, knocking off these siege tanks. Notice they're all unsieged. This is not what QXC needs right now. If he wants to hold on to this, he would have had to have had those sieged up, ready to catch those tanks. But you can see the little one is using a great move command, attack move, and picking off those siege tanks one by one, and now he is able to run back and to once again defend his natural. The little one, of course, has his own command center down here. Tried to land it down here, but there was a Marauder from QXC hanging out, just making sure that there are no command centers landing there whatsoever. So he may decide to take this own expansion right here. It looks like he's getting ready to land it there. But in the meantime, the little one is continuing to maintain his defense in the front line between the two bases with the missile turrets. Very, very good decision there to hang on while he builds up some more forces. Now, do note there are a ton of SCVs getting ready to transition down to the high yield. And at this point, I think that QXC knows about this expansion. As you can see, he is moving out right now with a ton of Marauders and a couple siege tanks as well. The little one not moving just yet. You can see he has some of his infantry dancing around, but he still has to unsiege his tanks to be able to defend this. He's not lifting off. He's just going to let it go. There he goes. Now he lifts off, but still the Vikings should be able to pick it off. And you know what? The little one says, heck with it. I'm just going to let that expansion go. I'm going to attack because my opponent is way out of position. And here he goes, trying to get ready to build some bunkers with the SCVs that he brought up. This is a fantastic idea because it's going to allow him to defend against any sort of counterattack in the immediate future. You can see right now there are two bunkers on the way as the siege tanks did stagger in. That one unfortunately was mismicroed, but still QXC is hanging his forces back here just south of his main base while the little one brings in so many SCVs. Look at that. He is really intent on repairing. Instead, he's actually, this is going to be pretty interesting, he's going to use these SCVs to hold off the Marauders and basically keep them in position while the rest of the siege tanks do a ton of damage and just obliterate them. Look at that, even more reinforcements coming in from the south, allowing QXC to finish up that army. And at this point, he is sitting in a very good position, bringing in all his siege tanks, and he looks like he's going to siege up a couple of them, but the rest of them he's just going to leave unsieged, so that way he can deal with threats like the SCV attack, which is now a little bit of a sign of a desperation from QXC at this point. He has a ton of buildings here trying to build. Look at that. He's building so many Marauders, but at this point, it's just not going to be enough, I do not think, because his income is pretty much shot. He's running on this one base right here. It does have a number of SCVs that were dropped, and there's the GG from QXC, allowing the little one to take game number one. Very good counterattack on this high yield expansion. I like how he countered the counterattack from the rear. Definitely worked out very well. Called him out of the position just as he unsieged and allowed him to turn the tide of the battle. So let's go on to game number two and see what happens next in the Showmatch series between the little one and QXC.